I'm gonna be talking about one of the most badass, underrated fight scenes in all of manga. Stay tuned. I want to talk about Toriko versus TommyRod. This fight is super sick, but I'm gonna be talking more and more about why this fight's underrated, what are the cool things about it, and doing a little like review of it. But I wanted to explain why this fight is just so sick to me, and also like why probably people don't know about it. So stick around, leave a like, subscribe when you see more content like this, and hit that bell to post it consistently. Now let's get into Toriko versus TommyRod. Before we start, let me give you some context for people that don't know Toriko at all. So Toriko is about a gourmet hunter named Toriko who is going on his journey throughout the gourmet world to find animals and to basically beat them up and take them and cook them and basically to create his full course meal. So in the world of Toriko, which in my opinion, Toriko has some of the best like world development next to One Piece and stuff like that. In this world, the world is full of monsters and giant animals that are like nowhere close to being in real life, but the world is adapted to that, and there's a lot of people that actually like can cook these giant animals that are like super terrifying and huge. And Toriko is one of those people that hunts down those animals and cooks them and even sells them and stuff like that. The arc I'm talking about starts around like chapter 64 and goes all the way to chapter 93. So it's pretty long. And also one character I forgot to mention that joins Toriko is his friend Komatsu. So Komatsu is basically a 5-star chef, and he's been joining Toriko ever since the first chapter, going on adventures with him to discover food and to find the full course meal. Basically they're best buds, so think of them as like Toriko as like Goku, and think of like Komatsu as Krillin. And this arc, they're sent on a mission by Granny Setsu to look for this soup called the century soup. So the century soup is a thing that comes from this giant ice pillar that is like, it's called the Gourmet Showcase, and from the Gourmet Showcase oozes out this like soup, and it's supposed to be like the greatest soup ever, and it takes centuries to like actually form, and right now it's forming. And so Toriko and Komatsu are sent on a journey from Granny Setsu to find the century soup so that they can try it out and stuff like that. And while they're doing this, they learn that this older guy has intel on basically where the century soup is, and he's like building up a gang. He's building up basically a crew to go hunt it down. And Toriko and Komatsu join the group, and they meet characters like Match, Takimaru, which are other main characters of this arc. And they basically head on this boat to the Arctic to go find the Gourmet Showcase and find the century soup. So while they're there, we get to see cool stuff. We get to see Toriko show off his new moves, because this arc is like, we're like 60-90 chapters deep at this point. Toriko has definitely evolved, especially since the last arc. The last arc, he was fighting this dude named Starjune, and Toriko got stronger and stuff like that. So we've seen Toriko evolve so far throughout this arc. And so basically this arc at the beginning is really him like flexing, like like showing off his new moves, figuring out that like he can do a lot more new moves, like his spiked punch, which is like Toriko's like his go-to move, is basically like stronger. He's learning more moves, like how he can like do flying knife and flying fork. Like one thing I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna go off topic for a bit. Toriko's powers in the show is basically just him. It's basically just his body. So he has this move called fork and knife. So I believe it's his left hand is his knife and his right hand is his fork, or either or. And basically it's just like in this show, they have a lot of like spiritual stuff where like if a character's mad or if a character's like getting ready to fight, they show like this spiritual pressure of themselves, like a creepier version of himself or of these characters, like, or monsters and stuff like that. And it's basically like in any other anime, like when you're sensing someone's energy, but you sense their spiritual pressure or their energy, and it's like a monster and stuff like that. Like there are times in the show where people like sense someone else and it's actually terrifying to them, and they see like a monster, even though there's no monster, there's just that person's energy and stuff like that. I went off track, but Toriko's power is basically a fork and a knife, and he's learning that he can do more cool things with it. Like he can like throw forks and throw knives. Like when it shows the fork and a knife, it's not like an actual fork or a knife, it's his energy. But the way he symbolizes his energy is like a fork and a knife. I hope I explained that a little bit. But he's basically flexing. They're on this giant like boat. He's like flexing his energy and stuff like that, flexing his powers. And they're realizing that like this Arctic is like, it's not easy. It's like the icy hell. Like it's known that for a reason. It's like, I think they said it's like negative 80 degrees or something like that. And they're only like surviving because they're wearing like these like heat suits. But it's helping them a bit, but with the wind, like later on, it gets worse and worse. And Toriko's like the only one like in the group that's actually able to like take it and stuff like that. But when they're going up the icy hill, they also get split into 2 groups. So there's a group of like characters that don't matter, that get killed off, and then there's the main group, which is Toriko, Takimaru, Komatsu, Match, and Match's group. So Match and Takimaru are side characters in this arc that we learn about. Match is like this mafia guy that's trying to basically bring the century soup to his crew, like basically to his hometown, because his hometown is really, really poor and they don't have food. Takimaru is trying to find the century soup, hoping that it will lead him to find a way to heal one of his mentors. And basically that's why they're like in this group, in this like trying to find the century soup. And then they join with Toriko because Toriko is like strong, but also like Toriko's a good person and willing to like share the century soup with everybody and stuff like that. So they all decide to like work together to find the century soup. As we're going on, Toriko is realizing on their journey to find the century soup that the Gourmet Corp is there. So I'm gonna talk about the Gourmet Corp. The Gourmet Corp is basically the villains of this story. They're basically a group of guys that don't have any morals on killing animals, just want to kill animals to get stronger, or not even to kill animals to get stronger, just to kill animals, just to kill animals. Like Toriko also kills animals, but he has a moral where he won't kill animals if he's not gonna eat them. He only kills animals if he's gonna eat them, and he doesn't believe in senseless killing, which you'll see like more and more as the story goes on. But the Gourmet Corp is there to basically like take the food. They're basically on a journey to like take all of the greatest food in the world and to feed it to their master or the leader of the Gourmet Corp, because food in this universe makes you stronger. Like really, really good food makes you like way stronger than like normal humans. That's how you see Toriko do crazy stuff in this arc, or just in Toriko in general. Like how their powers work is that their powers work because of food. Like if they eat really, really good food, they get stronger and stronger and stronger. And they have these things called gourmet cells, and these gourmet cells like allow people to like basically like become superhuman, and that's what Toriko has. And basically the way you fill those gourmet cells is by eating food. So I went off topic, but I'm just trying to give more context so y'all know why the characters are like this or why they do stuff like that. While they're going to the Gourmet Showcase, they realize that Gourmet Corp is there. Like Toriko sees an explosion and notices that Gourmet Corp is here, because for the last few arcs, every time Toriko is trying to find food, the Gourmet Corp is there. And all the food they've been finding is like crazy stuff. Like the last arc, they were trying to find the jewel meat, and then this arc, they're trying to find the century soup. So he's noticing like, yeah, like the Gourmet Corp is really trying to get everything. Toriko decides to send Komatsu to go find the century soup instead of himself, because he wants to go fight the Gourmet Corp people and realizes that there's no way that like one, Komatsu's there and Toriko's not gonna be able to protect Komatsu, and also like Toriko can't find the century soup and find the fight the Gourmet Corp. So, and he puts his belief in Komatsu. He's like, Komatsu got this, I'm going to go fight the Gourmet Corp. And Match and Takimaru also decide to stay because they bonded with Toriko and decided to stay with him and help him out. And now we get introduced to TommyRod. So TommyRod is part of the Gourmet Corp, and he's basically like this bug dude. He's like mixed with like, he's basically a character mixed with Hisoka, Frieza, and imagine them also be able to like spit out bugs. And also that one dude from Hunter x Hunter, Killua's brother. He is like basically shown to be like sadistic. He doesn't care who he kills. He's like disgusting. Like his power, like he's strong, but his power is that he holds a lot of bugs in his like throat, or bug like eggs, and he's able to hatch them at any time. And I'm gonna go off topic again. Toriko's manga art is amazing. Like it's really, really good. I'm surprised how underrated the manga is, and I know why, because the anime. But I'm gonna talk about the anime later at the end of this video, but the anime did not do the manga justice. Like the manga, in my opinion, looks super really good. And one of my favorite things is just like how it detailed some of the worlds are, like how it detailed the environments are, and how he drew the characters don't look bad. Like TommyRod looks cool and looks disgusting, especially when he spits out the bugs. You can see his whole like mouth drooling and like spitting them out and stuff like that. It's nasty, and it looks great. It looks great. TommyRod's basically like on Toriko, Takimaru, and Match's tail. TommyRod also has like some 2 guys that really don't matter. They're like filler, besides one dude looks like Dio. But we're gonna keep on going on, and basically they meet up and stuff like that. And basically the fight is starting. Like Komatsu is dealing with the century soup and dealing with this guy named Tapeli, who we're going to talk about later on. Don't worry about them. We're going to talk about later. But I'm going to talk about this Toriko, Takimaru, Match, TommyRod fight. So in this fight, Takimaru and Match are basically fighting the other 2 characters that like the side characters, right? And while Toriko is fighting TommyRod. And this fight is so sick, right? So the beginning of the fight really starts with Toriko trying to deal with all the bugs that TommyRod like gives out. Like for example, TommyRod has like a bug of like variety of different abilities. Like one of them, like he like hits it and it literally explodes. Like they have bugs in Toriko that literally just explode, like for no reason. They just explode. Like in Toriko, you learn more and more that these monsters have like a crazy just amount of abilities. Like there's an enemy later on at the later arc that can literally like freeze to sub-zero temperatures just from you touching it. Like it's nuts. But one thing like we see is that like a lot of the people in the group are like suffering from the insects, because these insects are not normal insects. These insects are like carnivore insects. Like they literally like go and they bite off flesh. They can like dug into body parts, and like it's nasty. Like TommyRod's whole plan at first is just summon the bugs at the group and to let the bugs just handle it and to like burrow deep inside of like the people and just eat them from the like the inside out and stuff like that. And it's really cool because like Toriko is just so like he's just that dude to whenever a bug goes inside of him, he just like buffs up and just pushes it out. Like he's just like, nah, he just pushes it out, and it's so sick. Like I love seeing just characters just do stuff that doesn't make no sense like this. And like I was reading Toriko and I was like, dang, because this is my reread right now, because I read it back in high school, and I was like, yo, like Toriko reminds me a lot of like JoJo type stuff, especially with how the characters are drawn with like unrealistically muscled proportions. Like look at this panel. Does this look like a man that could really exist? I love it. I love that. And also, like, I'm gonna talk about it, Toriko also has this cool ability called Spiked Punch, right? And he can, like, go up to different, like, numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, whatever. And every time he does that, right, his ability, basically, is that he, like bulks up, like, really hard, and then he punches, like, 10 times in one area, or whatever, or how many times the number is. And when he does that, basically the person gets hit like a bunch of times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like as many as he wants to go. And it's like they constantly just keep getting hit, and it's really cool. I really like the ability because like it just looks sick, especially when he buffs up like super hard. Like you just see it and you're like, yo, this is gonna hurt. Like in Toriko, you really like can look at how painful some of this stuff is. I went off topic, but I'm gonna keep going. Basically the fight's starting, like I said, and like TommyRod and Toriko are basically like they just trying to like basically like flex. They trying to see who's stronger and stuff like that. Like one time TommyRod like meets up with Toriko for the first time after he already sent his bugs, and like actually gets like a real like introduction to him, and like sticks his hand in like Toriko trying to kill him, which I don't know why he thought that was gonna kill Toriko. And Toriko like clutches up all his muscles to where TommyRod's like hand gets stuck, and then he's about to hit him with like a 10-fold punch. But like he has to stop because like TommyRod, like I said earlier, he has this bug that like freezes to sub-zero temperatures, and it's like in his mouth and stuff like that. So like he couldn't like attack him. But that's kind of off topic. But I'm gonna get a little off topic real quick. So I told you guys how Komatsu's basically look for the Sentry Suit. He meets this other dude named Tapeli, which is basically a gourmet reviver. So he's basically like, you know how in the real world we have people where they basically like hunt down like extinct like animals and plants and basically like research it and stuff like that, or try to revive them. Gourmet revivers are that, like, for the gourmet world, they go after these like crazy monsters and like crazy plants, and they basically try to revive them and stuff like that. And he's basically down with Komatsu and basically trying to find the Sentry Suit with him and stuff like that. But that's what Komatsu's doing. They're looking for the Sentry Suit, and we're gonna go back to like this Toriko fight. And Toriko and basically TommyRod are going crazy. The fight takes a little bit to happen because they decide to show Takimaru's fight and Match's fight first, which it was really cool. They have some cool moments, like Takimaru fights the Dio guy, and like the Dio guy's really weird. He has an ability where like he has like 4,000 bones and stuff like that. It's weird, but he beats him. And then they also have this like they have Match fighting this one like big muscle dude, and like Match has to like charge up for like 3 minutes or whatever, and like slice him in half and stuff like that. It's cool. It's really cool. But getting back to Toriko versus TommyRod. But the fight is basically like TommyRod's basically trying to outzone Toriko, like shooting all these bugs, and Toriko constantly has to like push them out of him. And Toriko's also like feels like conflicted because Toriko doesn't like killing animals unless he has a reason to. Like unless he's gonna eat them. He doesn't like killing animals. He prefers knocking them out. But TommyRod is like the one forcing him, like, yo, you're gonna have to kill these bugs. Like you can't just like, they're not gonna like, oh, you can't scare them. Like other animals in like Toriko, like Toriko is able to scare animals with just his pressure, like his spirit, like his energy, like with the monsters that you see from his spiritual pressure most of the time. Because a lot of animals like fight or flight, like they sense that like Toriko can like actually kill them in like flights and stuff like that. But Toriko's realizing that TommyRod's bugs don't do that, and he feels bad like actually having to like kill these bugs. But he's realizing that like, yo, TommyRod is that dude. He's gonna like sacrifice these bugs, using the bugs that explode, the bugs that give you viruses, diseases, poison, stuff like that. Like he's realizing like, yo, I'm gonna have to like kill these dudes, and he just stops playing games. Like his shirt comes off while they're in like icy hell, and he's basically like, I'm not holding my punches no more. Like I'm not doing that no more. And he basically like telling like TommyRod, like, because their morals are totally different. TommyRod's like I said, he's like Frieza, because in this arc, like you see like even Toriko asks like, how do you feel about your like the people, like your people that you work with, like your Gourmet Corps people, like you need to like, you want to go take them somewhere and like help them. And TommyRod's like, nah bro, I do not give a fuck about those people. I don't care about these insects. He's basically like Frieza in that way. Like TommyRod's just evil to be evil. Like he has no like purpose besides finding the food and stuff like that. Like he doesn't care about people or anything like that. Like he's just a bad guy to be a bad guy, and I kind of like that. Like I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I just like ignorant villains that are just villains to be villains, like people that are just evil to be evil and stuff like that. And I feel like he was like Frieza because he makes a lot of faces like Frieza. He also like I said, treats like people like trash and is willing to sacrifice any of his people and stuff like that. And he's basically like telling like TommyRod to like stop sending these bugs at him and to fight him like a man. And Toriko basically is like telling like Tommy, like, I know that you can only summon like a few like thousand more of those bugs and stuff like that. Like I need you to stop sending these bugs and to start fighting me. And TommyRod is basically like, no, I'm not doing that. Like I'm gonna keep on messing you with these bugs because I know the bugs can handle you. And it's like he does not care. TommyRod is like one of the first people that Toriko fights in the show that like really is like does not care how he wins the fight as long as he wins the fight. Like Star June gave him like a fair fight, gave him like an opportunity to charge up type stuff, like, you know, like anime type stuff where they let the character charge up. Like no, TommyRod's like, no, I'm going to try and cheap you out as the best way I can. It's like I'm a zoner in a fighting game and you're a grappler, and I'm gonna keep zoning you out. I will not let you get in. Eventually TommyRod like summons all his bugs at once and tries to kill Toriko with it, but it ends up not working because of Toriko is just that, he's just that dude. I would explain it, but the way they do it, he's just that dude. Like he just doesn't like take the bugs. Like he's just that dude. He doesn't get affected by them. They don't bite him and stuff like that. So TommyRod is like left wide open and gets hit in the stomach with like a 10-fold spike punch. And the way that they do it, I love how spike punches are in it. Like you see like the multiple hits and the character like just getting flung back, and TommyRod's face when he gets hit, like you really like felt the pain. Like you could see like, okay, that hurt. Like he was left gagging. Like you see a lot of blood in this manga. This manga has a lot of messed up like gore and stuff like that. And I wouldn't say gore, let's say it just has a lot of more blood than your normal shonen, especially in the anime is so bad with the censoring in that. But like you see people leaking, and when you see a person like drooling or like spitting out, like not even blood, just spit, you know they leaking. And he does even spit out blood later on, and that shit looked nasty. Like you could just tell like that stuff hurt. Like I said, Toriko tells TommyRod like how basically he's just that dude and how he avoided all the bugs and stuff like that. And then TommyRod's basically like, you know what? We can start throwing hands, right? And Toriko's thinking like, oh, he's throwing all those bugs, so he's probably not as tough. But no, TommyRod is like as tough as Toriko, and he even has like these razor sharp teeth that can literally like cut through flesh. And he starts like biting off Toriko. Like he bit off his shoulder, like he's biting off like different pieces of him. And then he even bites off a whole finger. Like I don't even know if I can show it. Like they kind of censored it a little bit. They showed like a little bit of it, and then they showed like kind of like symbolism of, they show like Toriko's like fork, and like it doesn't have like his pinky, like his pinky's gone. He basically like leaking. Like they get it real. Like this is the first time where Toriko's like actually like losing body parts. Like he's like also like, okay, listen. So TommyRod also has this ability where he can basically like shoot explosions. Like I told you how he had explosions with the bugs. He also has explosions with his mouth. He explains that he's basically like hitting him with water at a high velocity or a high pressure, to where like high temperature and high pressure where basically like becomes bombs. And he's like shooting Toriko like with bombs, and Toriko's like just saying like, nah, I'm just gonna go through the bombs and stuff like that. And he's like about to hit him, like he's about to hit TommyRod with like the highest spike punch he's done, like 11 or whatever. And he's about to hit TommyRod, and then TommyRod bites his whole hand off, his whole hand, his whole left hand is just gone. It's just a nub, right? And TommyRod's like, yeah, I did that. But then Toriko still hits him with a 12-fold spiked nub. Still hits him with it. Like, he does not care that his hand is gone. And hits TommyRod with that spiked punch nub or whatever. And then he goes up to TommyRod and about to hit him with his knife, right? And then TommyRod, like, blows up the knife. Like, he blows up his whole arm. And Toriko's whole arm is gone. His whole arm. And then he still ends up getting hit. Like, he still hits TommyRod with his other right arm. Hits him with a 13-fold spike punch. And it's just like manhandling, like, TommyRod, just beating the hell out of him. And remind you, like, Toriko has lost a whole... First, he lost the finger. And then he lost the arm. And then he lost the whole, like, the whole thing. Like, no, I said it wrong. He lost the finger, then the hand, and then the whole arm. He just got a shoulder. And they're just basically, like, still, like, fighting each other, and they're breaking the whole environment, because remember they're in an icy hell and stuff like that. They're basically like beating up the like whole area. They're destroying the whole environment and stuff like that. And they're even talking about how basically they're both fighting to like feast. They're both fighting to like feast on food, and that like this is a battle of survival. Like, this is not like some pity stuff. This is not like some, oh, let's just like fight and then like whoever loses we're gonna go back home. Like, no, this is like for survival. Like, no, we're going, like, one of us is walking out here dead. And Toriko's basically saying like he can't give up yet. He still want to keep fighting even though he's missing a whole arm, and he's basically like to his like last like 10%. And Toriko's like realizing more and more that like, yo, I'm about to die. Like, this man got me leaking for real. And Toriko even like starts to like use his feet. And we're gonna talk about that more later on, like in a little bit. But like, he starts using his feet. Just remember that. He starts fighting, and they're fighting, and they're fighting, and like it's getting to like basically the end. And then Tommy's like, you know what? I'm gonna be on my freezer timing. I'm gonna stop playing games. And this is when I said like he's kind of like Hisoka's friend from like Killua's brother from Hunter x Hunter. He takes off these bands off of him, and he basically gets like super jacked. Like, he's basically like Frieza full power 100%. And he's basically telling like Toriko like, I'm done playing these games. Like, as tribute to you, the one Gourmet Hunter I respect, I'm going to fade you out type stuff. Like, he's basically like the Hulk right now, and he is like beating Toriko's like ass. And Toriko's like saying like, yo, like, I'm about to die. And you know, like, usually a character thinks like, yo, like his life's gonna flash before his eyes before he dies. But no, Toriko sees that Tommy was leaking when he started hitting him with his feet. And he was like, yo, feet are 3 times stronger than arms. Yo, I'm gonna use my feet. And like, he hits TommyRod with like this, basically his new move, which is like a leg knife. And he like basically like cooks like he cooks Tommy's whole right arm. Like, so an arm for an arm type stuff. And he even starts hitting like Tommy with like his leg fork and like got him leaking. Like, they both basically like, it's over. And it looks like Toriko's about to win, but then Toriko just like like, he doesn't die, but he just like passes out. He's done. Like, he's out for the count. Like, he didn't kill Tommy. Technically, Tommy beat him because Tommy outlasted him. And then Toriko's like basically like about to die by Tommy giving him like this massive punch. But Toriko's ended up getting saved by Tapelli. And basically like the arc is ending where Tapelli basically like takes out Tommy. He doesn't kill Tommy. Tommy ends up actually living. So what I said earlier kind of doesn't matter. When I said like, yo, like one of us gonna walk out here dead, they end up both surviving. But they're basically like both like near death and stuff like that. And Tapelli ends up saving Toriko. But the arc is about to end, right? And remember what I said about how, like, remember when I told you that Tommy has this bug that can like sub-zero temperature stuff? And he decides like, you know what? I'm done playing these games. It's basically like Frieza saying like, yo, I'm about to blow up the planet. He decides to summon that bug and uses all of his strength. And like, this bug is not like a normal bug. Like, this bug is basically like a hybrid of all the thousands of bugs that are like in Tommy. And it's nasty. Like, it's gross. Like, when he gets out of Tommy, he's like a giant bug, like slimy, and like he can fly. He can like shoot venom, poison. He's basically the ultimate bug that can't be like defeated and stuff like that. And so what happens is that Tapelli decides to actually summon an ancient plant that also can't be beaten by normal means. And basically like they both end up fighting, and like they end up like going off screen and fighting, and the fight's over. Like, Tommy's out, Toriko's out, and Tapelli starts healing everybody with these plants and stuff like that. And basically like the arc is ending where they found that out that like the Sentry Soup like got taken away by like the Gorman Corp in like secret while they were fighting. But Komatsu ends up getting like a single drop of it and tastes it, and it believes he's able to like create like a replica of it. And so basically that's like the next arc after this that I'm not going to go into that. The next arc is basically like Komatsu creating the century soup from like scratch and like recreating what he tasted. And then also like Toriko working on repairing his arm. So remember, he has no like arm. He has no arm right now. He has only one arm. So the next arc is basically like him and like Komatsu doing their own journeys. Like Toriko's doing his journey to like get his arm back, and like Komatsu is like doing his journey to create the century suit. And that's basically the end of the fight. It's a lot. I hope I was able to explain it good enough, but I really love this fight because it's just so sick where like they were just like beating down each other hard. Like first, like it had different, I like how different faces it was, how Tommy like was like kind of, he's really smart. Like he's not like one of these characters or anime characters that's like, yo, I'm gonna let this dude power up. Like no, I'm gonna like chip him out, I'm gonna cheap him out, and then I'm going to also like when I can't cheap him out, I'm gonna get in and go for the kill. Like he was always going for the kill, and that was the first time Toriko had to like fight someone that was like not with the games. Like, yo, I'm going to try my everything to kill you no matter what. And that was really, really cool to see. That was so sick. Like when I saw his finger gone, and then I saw his hand gone, and then I saw his whole arm gone. Like, come on, bro. That was so cool. Like, I'm hoping I can show it without getting like age restricted, but oh my god, that fight is so cool, bro. Like, one thing I like about it so much is just how Toriko like evolves throughout the fight, where he's like using like basically the adrenaline's like pushing him to like go farther than he ever has gone before. Like 12, I think he did like 12 spike punch or whatever. Like in the first arc he can barely do like 5, and now we're like 60-90 chapters deep and he can do like 12, and you get to see he has developing more moves. Like before he couldn't like throw his knife or throw his fork, but now he can. And then now he can also do it with his feet. I loved seeing the development of it so much. And TommyRod just I just liked how nasty he was. He was just a nasty dude with bug powers and just a nasty dude. And he did not care about whatever he did. He gave me Frieza Hisoka vibes, like I said. And it was really cool. I think he was a really good villain. And I believe he comes back later on. I'm still rereading Toriko, so I don't remember everything. But this fight was just so sick. It was just so sick. And I think y'all should check out Toriko. I said earlier that I was going to talk about why I don't think a lot of people know about Toriko, because Toriko is really underrated. Like, I learned about Toriko from J-Star Victory Versus, and I also learned about him from like that one Goku, one like Dragon Ball Z One Piece Toriko crossover special. And I think I know why a lot of people don't know Toriko, and I think it's because of the anime. And I'm gonna make a video on it, probably talking about why Toriko is like one of the least known Shonen Jump properties in the last like 20 years, like compared to like One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and stuff like that. But that's for another video. Thank you guys for watching the video. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and hit that bell button, posting consistently. I want to drop more videos of me just reading stuff and just talking about cool moments from mangas and stuff like that. Leave a like if you liked the video, and tell me what other manga or anime fights I should look at. And I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Peace.